My name is John Kosnick. I'm the state representative from Lakeville, and it's my pleasure to be on the Minnesota Latino Affairs Board as an appointed legislative member, and want to thank you and welcome you. Thank you for being here and welcome you to the Coffee and Policy with the Latino Affairs Council. We wish we could be in person, and as I was saying, as a Colombian person, I hope you have a warm cup of 100% Colombian coffee this morning. And I wanted to thank you again, each of you, our partners in the Latino community and the different organizations that are with us, because the role that you do in your organization is vital to the health and the growth and the strength of the Latino community. I believe, and we believe, and you know, that the strength, a strong Latino community and a vibrant and thriving Latino community is important. And I lost my place here. A strong and vibrant Latino community is important to a strong and healthy and prosperous Minnesota. So keep doing what you're doing. The Minnesota Council on Latino Affairs will be here at the Capitol virtually and in person to advise us as legislators, but we need you in your spaces and you're out in the community doing and building up the Latino community. So thank you again for being here. I look forward to a time where we can see each other again real soon in person, and enjoy the day and the meetings with your legislators. Thank you.
Awesome. No, thank you, Representative Kosnick. And well, hello, everybody. My name is Marco Hernandez. I use he, they pronouns. I'm the chair of the Minnesota Council of Latinos Affairs, as well as the board member representing Congressional District 4. Shout out to all the representatives and senators representing good old St. Paul and the surrounding areas. As for all of you who are here, thank you so much for coming today. Definitely, we know this is, we're in session, and so we really appreciate you for taking your time out of your busy schedules to hear about the issues affecting the Latino community here in Minnesota. And we also have the great presence of most or even all of our council members representing the different congressional districts, as well as our at-large members as well. Definitely, they come from many parts of Minnesota, the different corners, and so they have a lot of priorities and a lot of community-based feedback and suggestions that they would love to share with each and every one of you. As a nonpartisan agency tasked to advise the legislature about issues that are critical for the Latino communities in the state, we definitely look forward to inform and advise about key policy areas that definitely impact our communities. As I said, this is also an occasion to engage with our council members representing the different corners of Minnesota, especially during the second part of today's program. And again, thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to working with you. So, I hope everybody has a good morning, unos buenos días, and un bon dia. So I'll pass it on to Rosa to kick this event off.
Thank you very much, Chair Hernandez and Representative John Kosnick. But before we start, I'd like to also acknowledge one of our board members, Senator Patricia Torres-Rey, who is also here with us this morning. And I would like for her to also say some words before we start. Senator?
Thank you. Good morning. Buenos días. Qué gusto verlos a todos. And I am so delighted to see so many of my colleagues joining us. Thank you so much. I see Senator Eakin, Senator Wickland, Senator Kunish, Senator Papa, Senator Carlson, Senator McEwen, so many representatives. I am so delighted to see you. Thank you for joining our community in our legislative efforts. It's really a pleasure, and I know how difficult it is right now with all the meetings that we have. And this virtual communication, it makes it difficult for us to really continue to coordinate, figure out, how people are doing. But it is critical that we continue to have these conversations and do these meetings with our representatives. Latinos are residents of every county in the state of Minnesota. So the statistics show that we have Latinos in every corner of the state of Minnesota, and in fact is the ethnic group that is the youngest and the fastest growing. We have had a conversation about an interesting fact that actually Senator Julie Rosen has the school district with the largest number of Latinos in her district. Now, districts are changing, so we have new boundaries and new lines that will determine new districts, but that is an area where we have a fast growing population and predominantly immigrant workers, migrant workers who have come and have settled in those parts of the state. My commitment to the council and to all of you is to work in partnership like I always have. Please do participate in these legislative processes and in the community gatherings that take place with your representatives. I was happy to participate yesterday in a class at Metro State University. I was invited by Dr. Elena Isaaczonas, who actually was a member of this board in the past. And basically her entire class are students of color and live in different parts of the state. And the class was about understanding who are your representatives. An exercise that I did in that class was to show the map and then put their address. And Senator Kunish, you had a few constituents in that class. Senator Wickland had a few constituents in that class. So more and more we are really connecting and trying to figure out how our community gets connected, not only with the representatives and the senators that represent them, but with the legislative work that you're doing right now. Rosa and the staff and the board, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share what our colleagues are doing and to bring that information to you at every meeting. I hope that this is, that we go back to meeting in person, because I think Latinos really like to be in person and share a moment and share a meal. So I hope that next year we're able to do this in person, because I think this is a very important, very important moment for us to meet each other and to learn about our work. Thank you so much again for the opportunity to speak and say hello to all of my colleagues. I'm grateful for your presence here.
Thank you very much, Senator Torres Rey. I think that you lay a little bit the ground before the presentation that I have regarding our communities in the state of Minnesota. So thank you for that introduction. And also I would like to acknowledge the House representatives that are here with us this morning. I cannot go to my from my screen, but I can see many of you in the House of Representatives, and I really thank you for being here with us this morning, because as Senator Torres Rey was saying, there are Latino residents in every county and in every district of the state. So for us, it is very much a pleasure and an honor that you are here, so that you can have a good understanding of who we are as Latinos in the state of Minnesota, and at the same time let you know that we have council members from Duluth, from St. Cloud, from Moorhead, from Shakopee, Minneapolis, and Paul. So I'm very grateful for all of our council members to be here, and they will have a chance to talk with some of you in the second part of the program. So let's get started with a short presentation about who we are as Latinos in the state. As Senator Torres Rey was saying, we are an integral part of Minnesota. According to the latest census in 2020, the official number is 345,640, and that without taking into account that our communities might have been undercounted, maybe by 2%. So that number might be a little bit higher actually for the nation and in the state, but that's the official number. And so 1 in 16 of your neighbors are of Latino heritage or have Latino roots in any of the countries of Latin America. We have grown more than the overall growth for the Minnesota population. So we grew between 2010 and 2020 by 38% versus the 7.6% for the Minnesota's overall population growth. And in 13 years, it is projected that the Latino population will grow to a little bit more than 500,000 residents. So this is, if demography is a destiny, as they say, I think that this is those are important facts to take into consideration for the future of the state. And as we were explaining before, we are in every county of the state. And what's interesting is that in greater Minnesota, that's where we have the highest concentration of Latinos in the state. In terms of numbers, we are basically in the metro area, in those countries around Hennepin and Ramsey and other counties around the metro area. But in greater Minnesota, you will see, for instance, a county like Nobles, the percentage of Latinos is higher than the 1% of the total state population. So these are communities that are revitalizing the economies of these local communities, that are avoiding schools to get closed, that are keeping churches open, etc. So I think that those are also important facts and important populations to be particularly looking after, as Senator Torres explained. So cities like Worthington, Wilmar, Austin, Albert Lee, those are cities with an increasing number of Latino residents, because communities of color and specifically Latino communities are growing, are driving the population growth in the state of Minnesota. And one other fact to take into consideration is that not all Latinos are immigrants. I am a first-generation immigrant, but not everybody is an immigrant. Actually, about 80% of Latinos are US citizens, whether US born or naturalized as US citizens. And as we were saying, there are Latino voters in every county. So that number is 127,000 Latino eligible voters in the state of Minnesota. And as you know, we are not a monolith group. We are very diverse in terms of our roots and our ancestries. The largest Latino group is of Mexican descent, 66% of them in the state of Minnesota, followed by Puerto Rican, Ecuadorians, and other countries from Central America and also South America and the Caribbean and Spain. So it's a very diverse community, and the kinds of programs and services and interventions will vary very much depending on our ancestry. And that pretty much reflects the nation as well in terms of our heritages. And the most important thing that we want to convey to all of you, as Representative Kosnick was saying, is that as a group, you know, we make this state vibrant in many aspects. I mean, as I was saying, Latinos and other BIPOC communities are driving the population growth of the state. So we have this human, social, and cultural capital that is so important for the future of the state in terms of their youth, in terms of the buying power, in terms of the businesses that Latinos entrepreneurship are able to put together and open. In terms of tax payments, so we contribute in terms of our taxes, so we can keep schools and clinics open, and the roads being built. And in days like today, for instance, having all this snow shoveled by public trucks, etc. So we have a stake in the state of Minnesota. And another fact that is important to note is that despite the pandemic and despite how much the those 2 years impacted Latinos businesses and particularly essential workers. According to DEED, the Latino unemployment is at 2.7%, which is much lower than the unemployment for the whole state. However, Latinos continue to be in this occupational segregation, meaning that they are concentrated in work in jobs like food or the hospitality that put them in disadvantage when this economic crisis hit us. And 73% of 73% is the estimated employment to population ratio for the state of Minnesota, which is also pretty high compared to the rest of the state. However, many in our communities have multiple jobs with no benefits or with very little benefits, and that makes them more vulnerable to the economic changes and to be able to enjoy more of whatever they bring back and contribute to the state of Minnesota. So as I was saying, despite this very promising population that will definitely be able to support the economy of the state of Minnesota, there are still disparities and opportunity gaps, and those were exacerbated by the pandemic, as you all know. But we now have an historical opportunity to invest in Latino communities. For the whole sake of the state of Minnesota, we have a supplemental budget, and there's also an infusion of funding from the federal government through ARP. So I think that there is a historical opportunity to invest in our communities based on this social, cultural, and human capital that I was explaining before. So this is a list of some of the areas that through all of these years we've been listening from and hearing from our communities where the state funding should be more of a priority. For instance, funding school programs and services for English language learners, early care and education, and wraparound services to support the academic performance of our students and increase graduation rates, but also improving the affordable access to college for Latino youth, investing in programs for affordable housing, especially in Greater Minnesota, investing in targeted programs to secure job opportunities by hiring, training, and retaining a diverse workforce in strategic sectors of the economy, including recruiting teachers of color, but also securing Latinos' well-being through preventive health programs, removing barriers to financial stability and provide incentives for small businesses, investing in programs to help families generate intergenerational wealth, and also fostering environments and enacting policies and laws that will welcome and integrate newcomers to offer them a sense of belonging so that they want to remain in a place that they call home, and that through our different listening community sessions, we've been able to hear how much they, Latinos, enjoy living in Minnesota. So how is MCLA trying to contribute to bring those opportunities or raise awareness through our legislative work and advice to legislators and state government? During this session, we have come with some priorities based on what we've heard in the community and based on stakeholders' information when they approach us or through our listening session. And so this year, our team is working in two specific areas, economic development / taxes and education. So in the following slides, I'll be talking a little bit about the legislation that Felipe Iescas is working on. As I mentioned before, he's right now, he's not with us because he's in a hearing presenting one of our bills. But I will very briefly describe the bills that the agency through Felipe is working on, and then Katia Cepeda will be presenting on education issues. So here is Felipe Iescas. Some of you might know him well. He's our senior legislative and policy director in the area of economic development and taxes. And right now he's working on 3 consumer protection bills. They aim at protecting consumers that are buying cars by making information and decision-making more clear and transparent. He's also working on another bill to create a new hair practitioner license. That would mean that for estheticians to have the choice to who only want to cut hair, not to go through a long and expensive training, but just focus on cutting hair. That's something, a need that we've been hearing in the last years from Latina estheticians, but from other communities as well. So that would remove barriers for all estheticians to become licensed and operate and work under state regulations. And the bill that Felipe is presenting on a hearing this morning is around taxes. That bill will not tax Social Security payments for veterans. And now I'm going to hand it to Katia to explain the education portfolio. Katia?
Thank you, Rosa. So for education, we are currently working on the bill to increase Teachers of Color Act, which is HF 3079, or in the Senate, SF 3132. And this is to support, we are supporting coalition efforts to ensure passage of policy amendments not included in the last session, and that seek to diversify the workforce with qualified teachers that resemble the school population. This includes the pedagogy that reflects the racial, ethnic, and cultural backgrounds of all students. We're also continuing to ensure effective support and funding for English language learners by supporting efforts to ensure the passage of HF 1939, which is the English Learners Bill. And this bill aims to provide adequate resources while implementing an English Learner Parent and Community Advisory Council to provide feedback to the Minnesota Department of Education. And for number 3, we are also advocating for the implementation of equitable access to alternative methods of instruction, particularly distance learning technologies and outreach to Latinx families. We are also advocating for early childhood education for the implementation of equitable access to training and resources, particularly for the FFN, which is Friend, Family, and Neighbors providers who are trying to pursue their LNL, and that means legally non-licensed providers, and non-licensed providers that want to become legal in the state. So we have 63% of providers that would like to be licensed in the state of Minnesota. And lastly, we are continuing to work to increase post-secondary enrollment options, or PSEO awareness and adequate information. And so we are continuing to collaborate with people for PSEO to stay on top of trends that affect the access to this program. And so at this time, if anybody has questions, Rosa and I will be here to answer any on education or the other bills that we presented on.
Rosa, I could jump in with a question,
Yes, sure.
or kick off a little discussion. As a newer member on the Higher Education Committee, the state does have some goals for different higher education attainment and post-secondary attainment. Rosa and I talked about it very, very briefly, and I'm sorry it was a we should have had a better discussion about it, but the Latino segment is not meeting up to the set state expectations of post-secondary education attainment. Is there some work that is being done, any legislation? But I think we can do legislation, but I think with our community partners, we need to provide the leadership and the coordination for the Latino community to get involved with in higher education and provide some of their natural pathways to do that. And are you aware of any particular bridge building, so to say, to kind of help make sure that as a Latino community that we do meet and increase that goal?
Sure. I know from my previous experience, that was one of the things that at least in the Minnesota network of the University of Minnesota, that was something that they were actively doing, was reaching out to the local high schools in their area. So as you know, that system has 5 campuses throughout the state. So I know that they were actively going into the schools and specifically collaborating with with us, it was a Latinx liaison. So they are trying to reach out to see how they can improve the awareness to not just PSEO, but also to the different schooling systems that they have specifically in education to increase their students to come to their schools.
Well, I appreciate that. And I guess I would challenge the people here on this call within our own communities to maybe keep an eye on that. And Rosa, maybe you and I can find some time to coalesce some goals and strategies on that. But even beyond just higher education, we have a strong demand for workers in our trade groups that are wonderful professions, very profitable and prosperous professions that provide for our families. And so working with our carpenter unions and other unions, electricians and all that kind of stuff I'm on transportation. I know that the trucking industry is trying to figure out a way to partner with that. And so I would challenge us to think a little bit about that within our communities across the state and see if we can make more progress on achieving any kind of certification. It doesn't have to be necessarily a 4-year college or something. But I was just surprised I didn't fully recognize that there was a goal, attainment goal for some kind of certification or post-high school attainment within the state. I'm glad that there is, so we can measure it. But as a community, I'd like to see a little bit more of an effort to help our Latino populations that's growing to do that, because that will make a more prosperous Minnesota. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Kosnick. Senator Sandy Pappas has her hand raised, and then Monica Schwartz and Yvette. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose and John. Senator Mary Kunish is the author of Senate File 3132, and in the Senate, we only can have 5 authors. So I asked Senator Kunish if it would be okay if I do a clone bill, which is what we do in the Senate to show more support. And she said she had to check with the coalition. So it sounds like Rosa might be the head of the coalition. So I guess I'm checking to see if it'd be okay with you if I introduce a clone bill. Mary stays the author. It just is an effort for more of us to show support, and we can have another 5 authors.
Were you asking me a question, Senator?
Well, I'm not sure who Mary was going to ask, but
sorry.
Presenting this bill right now,
Kunish,
3132 is a coalition bill. I thought I'd bring it up.
Rosa, may I just respond real quick? I did speak with some folks this morning, Senator Pappas, and it's on my list to review some of the thoughts from that meeting going forward. So if you would like, I will try to set up a phone conversation with you today and we can review that. Thank you. Okay. And I'm really, really proud to carry that bill again. We would love to have bipartisan support, both in the House and the Senate, because we know that this will have positive effects for all of our students as well as our teachers, especially as we go forward and kind of recreate or rebuild and restructure and re-support our families and communities and children. And so those of you that are on this call, from whichever political party you are, I hope you reach out to Senator Chamberlain with your support, asking to hear this bill to begin with. And let's just get this bill done. We've been messing with it since 2017, and we get bits and pieces here and there. But until we have the full comprehensive bill from recruitment through mentorship, we aren't going to see the full effects of what is really an incredible opportunity to rebuild our schools, and especially to focus on ensuring that there are teachers of color that we can retain and you know, have them mentor the next round. So I'll just say that, but there is something, and I will speak with you, Senator Pappas.
Well, I was an early supporter of Teachers of Color programs and want to continue my support, as well as for post-secondary options when I was higher ed chair, and for ELL learners. This is also very important to my district and to my constituents. So thank you for pushing this effort, and I hope we can be successful.
Thank you,
Senator.
Senator Pappas and Senator Kunesh. I appreciate that work that you've been doing on behalf of our students of color. And Monica Schwartz, you had your hand raised too.
Thank you, Rosa. Monica Segura Schwartz. I am a representative for St. Cloud. I wanted to switch a little bit. I wanted to go to the importance of resources and license for family-friendly providers of childcare. We have a lot of conversations about childcare in the state and the importance of childcare. And we have an extremely large number of family-friendly childcare providers in the state. And many of these childcare providers are not able to get resources in Spanish because they are very, very limited. They are not able to access licensing requirements because training and the offices that regulate and that do this don't have materials in Spanish, don't know where to get people that have those materials in Spanish. We're talking about the rural areas. There is also very few, there is not interpreters, there is not budget for getting interpreters into these agencies. So this is a really systemic issue about like the really minimal things that you need to do to access educational materials, and this has repercussions for all the life for Latino children. We have providers that don't understand the importance of early childhood education, that they don't understand what they need to be doing for language development in a kid. And when I'm talking about language development, I'm not talking about learning English. I'm talking about what kind of things they need to be doing with those with those children at those ages. So we have, for example, in Lone Prairie, initiatives for centers, but the initiative for centers will start competing with these family-friendly childcare providers, and they will be also having issues with, we'll have issues of competition instead of collaboration. And it's because these resources for really investing in this community about how we all care for our children is not thought out this way in a systemic form. I just wanted to emphasize that importance of that and really encourage you all to have more conversations about what is the law of the land in terms of early childhood education and family-friendly providers.
Thank you very much, Monica. I have two more questions here. Representative Mueller and then Yvette.
Thank you for inviting us here and for being able to do this. Can everyone hear me? Is everything going on? So I just wanted to talk very briefly about in response to the childcare providers. this is something I represent Austin, Minnesota, down in Mower County, and I do hear so much about this issue of childcare and how difficult it is to navigate the system and how to become licensed. And so what we started in Mower County through the Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation is they have some dollars that is set aside to help people kind of navigate through this. And so working with my education partnership coalition, Austin Aspires, we've been able to offer workshops free to the public, whoever wanted to go through this process. And during that time, they offer some continuing education credits, like learning how to do CPR, learning how to provide literacy enrichment, learning how to provide good meals, learning how to, all of these different things that help you become certified child care providers. And our first meeting was in January, and we had 17 people come, and we had some people from Vietnam, we had some people from East Africa, we had people from Burma, we had people from the Latino community. And so really this is an issue that we're seeing everywhere. And it has been exciting to see our community come together and start providing some of those workshops so that they get some help to go through that process. On the other side, of course, we do have the childhood, the Child Care Modernization Act, and I've been constantly talking to Representative Pinto about that and how we can continue to look at how to streamline our licensing and inspections so it's a little bit more streamlined for people to enter into this field. So thank you for bringing your priorities, and I'd be happy to talk to anyone about how to set up some of these workshops in their own area. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Representative Mueller. We have Representative Sandra Erickson too.
Thank you for letting me speak, and thank you to the Council on Latino Affairs for your endeavors over the years that I've worked with you. I've been so pleased that your focus is always on the family, and as Representative Mueller noted, it is important for us to take a look at childcare and the licensing and the reforms that are needed. But I wanted to just briefly mention that the Teachers of Color bill is not going to get solid bipartisan support unless we take a look at the barriers. I know Senator Chamberlain agrees with me. Both Representative Demuth and I have offered amendments. It's actually her bill that she introduced last year about getting rid of the barriers, because as teachers move through, or candidates move through the kind of preparation that's available, whether it's through Grow Your Own or through or if it's through a college preparatory program, there has to be respect for tiers 1 and 2 as professional. I think that sometimes candidates get turned off, or potential candidates, because an easy way to get into teacher licensure is to start with tier 1, because you'll have that Bachelor of Arts degree and you can get into a school, and then you can move to tier 2 if that desires you, because there you can move into a preparatory program if you choose, or you can take another avenue. Last in, first out is also a barrier to getting our Teachers of Color bill achieved, because last in, first out is typically a policy that lets go of those newer teachers, many of them from the minority community. And it's last in because first out, last hired, first fired, first put on unrequested leave. So that's a barrier to all of our candidates or potential candidates. And I don't think Senator Chamberlain is going to agree that this bill can move forward without those barriers being addressed. So I wanted to share that with you. I have other things I could say too, based on the amendment that I offered and the bill that Representative Demuth carried last year. But carefully think of that, and approach those members of the Senate Education Committee, like the chair, Senator Chamberlain, and offer those ideas, because the bill as it is now covers way too much. It's like taking the policy bill of last year and plumping it in with Teachers of Color. So it really doesn't focus on Teachers of Color. It focuses on many things, and the focus has to be, if we're going to get our Latino, Hispanic heritage into our school systems as teachers, we need to take away those barriers. So thank you for listening, and I hope that we can move forward with those changes.
Well, thank you so much, Representative Erickson. And I need to move with our program, since the second part of this program is for council members to meet with their representatives right now. So at this point, we're gonna conclude this first part of the program. I really appreciate all your comments, all your observations, all your suggestions. I think that we still have work in front of us, not only during this legislative session, but in upcoming sessions. But I want to thank you all for being here this morning with us. I think that this enriches all of our work and also brings the visibility to our communities and their specific needs in this current time. So right now, I'm going to be asking our policy fellow, Eva Garcia. I believe that there's already a couple of sessions that are being that have been scheduled with our council members and some of the representatives. So you will be sent to their first meeting which was at 10:10. So please, Eva, go ahead and invite our representatives and council members to meet in their specific assigned breakout rooms. Thank you so much all, and we'll be in the lobby if there's any more questions, and if there is need of any assistance in these breakout rooms. Thank you so much.